Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of Conversations with Chris and Cameron. It's episode 17. How are you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing good. Good start to the week. Wish we could have been 2-0 going into this week, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But overall, doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. We had our chances to go 2-0 for sure for the year, but sadly couldn't win against Ole Miss. And before we get into the podcast to recap the Ole Miss game, we have decided to start filming 2 episodes a week. We're going to probably just do two 30-minute episodes, just have one at the very beginning of the week to recap, whatever game UK played previously. So for this instance, it's Ole Miss, and then we'll have another podcast later on in the week and for, this week it's Eastern Michigan. So we'll have two different podcasts coming out each week now. So that's our goal, and hopefully we can stick with that.
Yeah, hopefully so. It'll be fun to do it, kind of split them up like that. Because last week, I mean, it was over an hour, but most videos have been for us, or most podcasts. But being able to split it up, it'll be pretty cool. Make it easier for viewers to watch and listen, like just shorter time. But it'll be more fun for us too. It'll be compact, nice and sweet, and it'll be good.
Yeah, and I mean, the most important part is, like whenever we do film a podcast like later on in the week, Wednesday or Thursday, more people are more focused on the game ahead with, for this instance, UK against Eastern Michigan. Meanwhile, if you record it later on or earlier in the week, Monday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, then, most fans are still paying attention to the previous game with Ole Miss. And sadly, like we both said, we couldn't end up with a win. We were very close, only lost by a touchdown, but honestly, the way UK played, they should have won. Our offense, of course, just didn't hold up to their bargain.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, we probably should have won. So it's hard to like have that mindset where we should have beaten Ole Miss, but then I'm also pretty disappointed in certain things. So like there's a weird balance to try to find now with
Mhm.
whether we should be disappointed or not, because we were depending on when you got it, 9.5, 10.5 point
Yeah.
underdog, lose by 7. But there were numerous opportunities
Mhm.
where we should have been up, maybe comfortably up at times,
Mhm.
in that game, and we just
Yeah.
weren't. So, like you said, we had an opportunity to be 2-0.
Mhm.
We were 1-1 now. Big
One.
opportunity this week to get the vibes going again and just get a big feel good victory. But yeah, overall, I mean, we were right there in this game, and
Yeah.
sad we just couldn't pull this one out.
Yeah, and of course, playing against Eastern Michigan this upcoming Saturday, that'll be an easy win, hopefully 2-1. But we'll talk about that later on in a different podcast later on this week. But I mean, I think we have to begin. We started out 10-0. Ty Bryant had those two interceptions, and I actually saw him before the season started. He's a very nice guy. I've been keeping up with him since his recruitment whenever he was I believe a senior in high school. He went to Frederick Douglass, maybe a junior, but I've been keeping up with him since his junior or senior year of high school. And it's cool now. I believe he's a sophomore or junior now this year, but it's just cool to see his career and everything he's done so far from his high school days to UK. But just having those two interceptions, and at one point I thought he was going to run one back for a pick six. I'm like, he had, the space to do it, but sadly, of course, he got tackled. But I mean, going up 10-0 whenever you're playing at home, you have to capitalize on that. And of course, I would have loved to have two touchdowns there to make it 14-0, but UK had their chance, their shot to go up big and, seal the deal against Ole Miss, I guess. Not seal the deal, but, at least punch them in the face to say, hey, we're up 14-0, but now UK only went up 10-0, and then, of course, Ole Miss made their comeback.
Yeah, you referred to the Ty Bryant picks. Those picks were also, it felt like heard around the country because it felt like a lot of non-Kentucky, non-Ole Miss fans that if you were just checking on social media during the game, people turned it over to that. And there were
Mhm.
big time pages talking about, oh my goodness. And like, so Ty Bryant, not necessarily his name getting shown, but I would see that clip across the country
Mhm.
because of how we had started that game. And Ty Bryant, big nod to him for that because he was being a ball hawk out there. He was
Yeah.
just, and like you said, the one I thought he was gonna house it. I thought we were about to have a pick six right there. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, we just have another Maxwell out there. Like this is gonna
Uh-huh.
be
That's
a
what I
guy that's
was
just gonna
thinking
house
too.
some picks. But
Yeah.
yeah, so his picks were really, really good to start. And like you said, two touchdowns would have been, I mean, 14 to 10, like those are two completely different things. Like
Yeah.
if you can get up 14 right there that changed the game. And but yeah, I mean we were right there. Obviously
Mhm.
the offense was the big takeaway of like where we couldn't necessarily, but the defense early on especially, they set us up in great positions. The
Yeah.
pass rush was getting to Austin Simmons and rattling him a little bit, but just couldn't keep that same consistency the whole game because I think
Yeah.
Austin Simmons got his feet a little wet. He got comfortable and he was starting to make the easy plays instead of trying to fire downfield where our defense was just having a feast with him
Yeah.
trying to test them out downfield. So
Yeah.
yeah, Austin Simmons was struggling first, but
Mhm.
big shout out to Ty Bryant. I have always heard you've said it numerous times about Ty Bryant when you've talked to him that he's just an incredible guy, just a
Yeah.
great guy. So I've heard that a lot. So big shout out to Ty for the two big picks early on.
Yeah, I saw him before the season, just out and about in Lexington, and I asked him how motivated Mark Stoops was before the season, and he's like, he's very motivated.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he seems very motivated. Obviously, we've talked about how
Yeah,
he doesn't want to like go with that little
yeah.
quote though. He hates it. But yeah, Ty Bryant though, I want
Mhm.
to say he might be a junior now, which feels like time flying because I think he's either a sophomore or junior, but it feels like he just got here, and
Yeah,
now
I was
he's
gonna look it
one of
up.
the upperclassmen. Like it's crazy. So yeah, the Lexington kid, Frederick Douglass,
Yeah.
big start for him.
Yep, he is a junior this year, so it's crazy that he's already a junior. And of course, he's not even a redshirt junior. He's actually a junior, so he basically, after this year, only has one more year of eligibility unless, some players sit out their final year, redshirt, and then transfer. And I just find that so dumb with players doing that. Of course, they preserve their year so they can play elsewhere, but yeah, some players have been doing that recently where if they haven't used their red shirt, they'll just use that in their technically final year so they can get another year of eligibility.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like to see that out of kids either, but yeah, that has been like kind of a trend recently where people have done that or they've redshirted for different reasons. I mean, Matthew Sluka with UNLV last year ended up
Yeah,
redshirting because he had the NIL dispute early in the year, so now he's at
at
James
James.
Madison now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been wild seeing when people use their red shirts nowadays.
Yeah, and not to get off topic, but I was watching that James Madison versus Louisville game, and same thing, James Madison definitely had the chances to defeat Louisville, just like UK had the chances to defeat Ole Miss, and I was really pulling for the Dukes to upset Louisville on Friday.
Yeah, I was too. Man, they were right there. The
Yeah.
Dukes were right there, man. They really just it was big part of it was I mean, the reason Louisville ended up winning that game was their pass rush. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like Louisville has an edge rusher that's going to be like one of the best in the ACC, maybe the country this year. He had just a ridiculous number of sacks, but their
Yeah.
pass rush got to him. But they really stopped Louisville their run game big
Yeah.
time because we've heard all season, all off season about Isaac Brown, Duke Watson, all these guys. James Madison just shut them down. So they got their cool EKU win that they get to hang a banner for, but now they play James Madison, a team a little bit better, so they kind of get
Yeah.
stopped up there. But yeah, I wish James Madison could have won. That would have been
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, Louisville did have some explosive plays to be fair. I mean, two explosive plays. I mean, that's what won them the game basically. And then of course, James Madison, they were playing both quarterbacks. I'm like, just play one quarterback, stick to one, please. And that is what really annoyed me during that game. But we don't have to talk about James Madison. And Louisville. Let's get back onto our subject, getting back to UK and Ole Miss. I think what really changed the game for the UK versus Ole Miss game was basically when it was 4th and 1, and basically UK's defense, they were preparing for the run. But instead, of course, Austin Simmons hit their wide receiver. I don't know who it was exactly, but he went 55 yards, basically scored on that. Of course, they scored later on in the drive, but he got down at like first and go at the 1 yard line, and eventually Ole Miss scored. But basically, I mean, that is what I believe changed the game, and you can't really blame the defense because they did so much, but I feel like, in that exact moment, it reminded me of back in 2023 against Missouri with that fake punt against Missouri, and eventually that killed the crowd, killed the momentum for UK, and Missouri came back and, defeat UK, and it was an awful loss for that game as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I definitely got that kind of reference back, sadly as well. But yeah, that was literally. I remember saying like live, they had that play. I think it might have been to Wallace. I might be mixing with somebody else, but they had the massive play. Next play, they score, and
Yeah,
like it just, I mean, like it's two plays, and you're going from 10-0 with the ball right before half, or like a few minutes till half or whatever, where you have a chance to go up 13-0, 17-0, whatever it may be.
yeah,
And that two plays later, it's 10-7, and it's just, I mean, that play was wild. Like like you said, it literally changed the entire game, and
yeah,
it's 4th and 1. Um, and yeah, everybody in the world knew Lane Kiffin was going for that. So like, it's not that it shocked Kentucky. It was a great play call. Good ball by Austin Simmons, perfect timing. It was all that, but
yeah.
that play was definitely the one key piece for that game that changed everything.
Yeah, and definitely changed everything like you were saying. I mean our like safeties or linebackers, they were only playing, 7 yards deep from the first down marker. So of course their wide receiver, they were right probably like 20, 30 yards down the field. And luckily, one of our players noticed that. Of course, it was a little bit too late to get caught up to the wide receiver. And of course, like I said, they eventually scored. But I think that was definitely like the game changer for sure.
Yeah, that play, that one was wild. Also, you mentioned the like playing super far off guys, but like I'll never question Brad White because that guy's forgot more about football than I could ever even know. But I do not like when it's a team that's up tempo and super fast like that. There's just times where I'm like, do we really need to sit our corners 12 yards off of us? Like they're 3rd and 4. They'll run a 5-yard hitch and they'll have the easiest first down I've ever seen in my entire life. And I mean, Brad White obviously is as good as they come. But man, those just kind of drive me crazy. I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, like I think Juice tweeted about it at one point. He was like, man, why we get the corner sitting so far off of him? And I'm just like, dude,
Yep. I did
I've been
see.
wondering that every single year, man. Like those just drive me crazy. But
Yeah.
like I said, he's definitely he's like a bend don't break, but he's I mean he does it to the best possible like thing. So like it's hard to argue with it, but those just drive me crazy a little bit. Just
Yeah.
seeing them sit so far and give them free yards.
I mean, you could say that's one of the reasons why we lost to Clemson. And that's why we should have honestly defeat Clemson. Like we had so many chances. Of course, I'm not blaming fully Brad White on that game because we had so many turnovers, so many interceptions, so many fumbles, against Clemson a couple years ago in that bowl game. And if we just cleaned up the turnovers in that game, we would have won. Of course, our defense didn't step up at the end of the game. Can't blame Brad White on the defense. So, like I keep saying, but he was playing off so much against Clemson, it just made all the fans very upset and mad.
Yeah, they just continued to just dink and dunk the whole way down that game. That game drives me crazy. But that I mean that is like the if you had to point at one game where it has hurt us big time, it's that one. Like
Yeah.
it's obviously worked a lot.
Mhm.
Brad White's had one of the best defenses in the country every single year,
Yeah.
but that is the one thing where I'm like, man, like it just gets on my nerves sometimes.
Yeah. If only UK had a competent offense, though.
Yeah, you see that's the thing with the bend don't break like defenses. It's like if you just have an okay offense, that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Sit 12 yards off of them, but it's like. Those are we need like defensive touchdowns to be able to win games. It feels like at this point, and they just dink and dunk the whole way. And once Austin Simmons got comfortable, I mean, those were he's making those throws in his sleep.
Yeah, I mean, both quarterbacks did get injured though, so they had to bring in their backups. Of course, their backup quarterback for Ole Miss, I'm not for sure who it was. He didn't even attempt to pass. It was all running plays, and basically Ole Miss didn't really need the backup quarterback to step up because, of course, Austin Simmons was injured along with Zach Calzada, so that was also a different aspect of the game because you rarely ever see, both backup quarterbacks playing during a game.
Yeah, I didn't even like notice the one for Austin Simmons at first, but yeah, his was bad. His injury did not look good, but he
Yeah,
came back and like you said, he I mean ended up being healthy. So
yeah,
yeah, good thing that ended up being fine. But yeah, his was pretty rough at first. But
yeah,
yeah, both quarterbacks getting hurt, and yeah, getting to see some backups.
yeah.
Obviously, we got to see more of Cutter than we did. I keep want to say Nova said that's the Oregon backup, but whoever their backup is, good player. But like you said, just runs the whole time when he was in there. But they have Keywan Lacey, and he's been really good for him this year.
Yep, he's been great for sure. And I think before we talk about quarterback play, I mean, UK did tie the game up in that third quarter. It was 20-20, and UK had their shot to take the lead. Of course, Ole Miss went on to win 30 to 23, but I mean, like UK had so many chances to, eventually take the lead or, win the game if they had to. But of course, we also, decided to go on two fourth downs when we should have probably kicked the field goal instead as well.
Yeah, those are the big ones. So are you in the boat of like you wish we would have you think we should have gone for them like we did, or you think we should have kicked field goals?
I think we should have gone for probably the first one and then kicked the field goal on the second try. I don't think you should have probably gone for both. I think you should have gone at least for one of them, but definitely not both.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people like they're like, oh, so now we go for him, and then they
Yeah.
pull up the Georgia game last year, and then they just start to get mad because he just
Mhm.
doesn't, he's not consistent with it. But I do just want him, even though it hurt us this time, I do want him to be very consistent with it. I want it,
Mhm.
yeah, go for it, go for it, go for it. Like, but I heard in his post game stuff, he had said that like we probably should have kicked that or whatever. Like, no,
Yeah.
just go out with your gun. Like, just go how you think it should have gone. Don't
Mhm.
change it up. Like, go with what you have planned. Like, I don't know if it's analytically or just with his gut,
He
but
said
like,
it was analytics
okay,
that made up his mind to
yeah,
go.
okay. I mean, yeah. Well, I'm glad he's using analytics because there's been numerous times that while he's been in Kentucky, he's just been going with his gut. But I
Yeah.
am glad he was going for it there. But
Yeah.
yeah, those were kind of the big talking points coming away from where it was like, man, should we have gone for these, whatever. And then yeah, obviously they ended up hurting us this time, but maybe they'll end up helping us later down the road.
Yeah, and I think we can start talking about the quarterback play. Of course, Zach Calzada, he went for 15 for 30, 149 yards, but injured his left shoulder during the game. It's his opposite shoulder that he's had surgery on. He's had surgery on his right shoulder instead of his left. So now his left shoulder is banged up, which isn't the best. But uh, seeing Cutter Boley, I wasn't impressed. Like every fan was raving about him, like during the game or after the game. I get it. The offense was moving down the field better, and he only went 1 for 3 and only had 38 yards. And what really killed me was I can't remember if it was the first fourth down or the second fourth down, but whenever he had that sack, I'm like, that just killed me. I'm like, you gotta get rid of the ball some way, somehow. I get it, you're only a redshirt freshman. This is your second year playing college football, but you have to figure out a way to get rid of that ball some way, somehow to, try to get at least a first down from it.
Yeah, I mean, even like it'll happen with a lot of different guys. I think it was Bryce Young yesterday in the Panthers game ended up throwing the ball like out of bounds on a fourth down. Once it's fourth down, you have literally nothing to lose. So like you said, Cutter just can't take a sack there.
Yeah.
You just have to get the ball in an area where a guy can just make a play. And I think that was the one that somebody had ended up. No, it was on the broadcast. They ended up like screenshotting it or something. They were like, "This is like." You just got to make this throw. And I don't remember if it was Hardley sitting down with a spacing route right there in the middle, but he's got to just put it on him. Like you got to know. I don't know how the progressions were if he had two routes before that, and then by the time he was getting to the third, it was already just too late. But like you just got to get the ball out. Like you just can't. Like it felt like he just took the sack way too easy. And obviously it's much easier said than done. But yeah, like you said, he's just got to get it out on that one. But honestly, personally, I don't think Zach played too bad. I said this last week too. I was pleased with his play, not disappointed, but I know a lot of people very much were.
Yeah.
But like you said, he was what do you go 15 for 30, 15 for
15 for
31?
30. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like the numbers don't necessarily show it, but like I do think a lot of those the line's been good, but I think it's now the receivers where
Mhm.
receivers just aren't getting open. Not even that it's their own fault. Maybe it's just good defensive play or just the knowledge of the defense,
Mhm.
knowing exactly kind of the concepts that we're going with. But like the receivers aren't necessarily great for sure.
Mhm.
I'm glad we're getting Kendrick Law the ball a little bit,
Yeah. Figuring out
just
ways to
in
get the ball.
yeah, however we need to orbit motions, like whatever it takes, just to
Mhm.
get that man the ball. But he's not a great route runner, and obviously like, some of these guys just aren't. Jamori Macklin is solid, but obviously he doesn't get the ball that much for a reason. It's just because he's kind of being covered very well, and
Yeah.
he is our one. So like a lot of people are going out there to get him, and then
Well,
other than them, like
he was wide open on the first down. I think UK was in the red zone with Cutter Boley, but he was wide open to make it at least 2nd and 5. If he doesn't get the first down, it's, second and manageable, 2nd and 5 compared to it being 2nd and 10 because Willie Rodriguez, or I believe it was Willie, he threw to Cutter Boley threw to Willie or Josh Caddis into the end zone, and of course he didn't catch it. But I'm like thinking to myself, Macklin's wide open, get him the ball, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, he definitely did have a few times, and that throw right there, the one that you're referring to with the tight end in the end zone, I was like, dude, if that one would have connected, that place would have erupted
Yeah.
and just gone. Like, even if we ended up with a loss, that play would have been
Mhm.
seen all throughout this week, which for
Yeah.
good reason. I mean, that would have been an incredible throw. It was great read, great timing, all that. You just got to put it on the guy. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, like you said, Jamori at times he is very open, and that's what
Yeah.
we see like in the Tennessee game last year, where he just kind of takes over in the second
Mhm.
half. Like you do just see him show very, very big flashes at times, but I don't know if it's to his fault or if it's
Mhm.
just different concept that they have him running. Like, I don't know what it is, but the receivers are just not necessarily open that often, so it's hard for Zach Calzada to really do too much with it.
Yeah, and of course, going into the season, there wasn't really any wide receiver number one. I mean, it was all oars for the first week of the depth chart, and everybody was like, "Why can't we find a consistent wide receiver number one?" And Bush Hamden was like, "We have a lot of, wide receiver number threes, but we don't really have a number one yet." I'm thinking to myself, "Is it really that bad?" You know?
Yeah, it feels like we just have a bunch of like mid just receivers. Like
Yeah.
they're obviously not mid because they're SEC receivers, but like from what we've had, just going to this is just kind of sad. Like we had just so many good players for so many good receivers these last few years, and now we've gotten to this point where it's almost hard to just find anybody to. And Hardly Gilmore is the one that kind of is the diamond in the rough that it looks like so far, which we've talked about for a while. Like
Sophomore.
if he can just get his head together and get it all figured out, man, he'll be special. And he's kind of the one that's standing out to me early,
Yeah.
as the one that like this could be the one that ends up breaking through and being our one when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and he's really young too. He's only a sophomore. But I think the big thing is I believe, we can talk about this later on in the podcast later this week, but I do believe Cutter Boley will be probably quarterback number one going ahead against Eastern Michigan, of course. Bo Allen is getting the backup reps as Zach Calzada is recovering from his shoulder injury he currently has. Uh, Mark Stoops did say that Zach Calzada did not practice today, and then that you will definitely see Cutter Boley at least play against Eastern Michigan. He might not start, but he'll definitely play at least.
I am excited for that because it is. Last year was just such a blur, kind of, because like Cutter comes in against Texas, where it's a team. Obviously, they're really, really good, so they shouldn't need much preparation, but they haven't really seen the guy. So
Yeah,
he ends up killing it against them, which is still super impressive. Then he plays, what was it, Murray
Murray. Yeah,
last year, and then Louisville, where it's a team that's fully prepared for a true freshman
yeah,
coming into that game against a defense that's pretty solid. So it'll be cool to kind of let him get the feel of it a little bit. He came in, checked in this one late because of the injury, but like, and he
Mhm.
had the great throw to Harley Gilmore in that one. It was like 10 yard
Yeah,
dig, 15 yard dig, whatever it was. But it'll be cool just to see him get a shot in
Mhm.
this game and hopefully run up the score on him a little bit. Hopefully we can do something similar to what Alabama did to Louisiana Monroe this week. But
yeah,
yeah, hopefully it's a good week for Cutter and let him get some reps in there. And but yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited for this week.
yeah. And we can talk about that later this week. But getting back to the offensive side, I mean, UK, they weren't the greatest at all. They literally had to burn, I think, two timeouts in that first quarter. I'm thinking to myself, don't waste your first timeout. Just use the delay of game, punt the ball 5 yards further. But, that didn't happen. The second timeout was, I believe, because we weren't set along with the third timeout. I could be wrong, but I couldn't believe that we used all three timeouts and it was all because of our offense, basically. And I'm thinking to myself, you didn't have to waste all three. You could have wasted, one at least, but not all three. And it just made me so mad with that because I'm like, get the plays together. And even the SEC broadcast, they were complaining about that right before halftime because UK had a great chance to score, get a field goal before halftime, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, like you said, the broadcast was crazy. I think it was Sean McDonough at half was like,
Yeah.
Kentucky gets the ball after the half and they might defer
For,
just because they just don't want to see the offense. But uh, the offense was just abysmal, like you said. I mean the one that really stands out to me, like I understand like calling a couple timeouts because you like maybe you're having trouble getting set, which is crazy at this point anyways when you're at a power conference in week 2 now. But the one with the punt, I was just like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
we're just burning. Timeouts are very, very valuable, and
Hmm.
we're just throwing them down the drain like they just don't have any value at all. Like,
Yeah.
I was so mad. Like, I
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, maybe if they call timeout, maybe they're about to go for it or something
Yeah.
crazy. But no, we just tried out the punter.
Yep.
Yeah, like you
Like
said,
it,
just take the
like
delay
it's
of game or
nothing.
something.
Yeah, like it's nothing. And I think the biggest thing that people will remember from that game was Zach Calzada, where, where you see him on the television screen, and I'll keep it good old G, where he's like, "What are we doing?" Obviously he said something different than that, but he's like, "What are we doing?" Because basically he couldn't get the play call through the helmet from Bush Hamden, and basically there were problems with the communication, I think, the whole time. Trying to relay the message from Hamden to Calzada, and I'm thinking to myself that needs to be improved, and I think it improved in the second half. I think, maybe once or twice where the play call wasn't getting through to Calzada or Boley, whatever it might be, but I think it only happened like once or twice in the second half compared to, probably like 5 or 6 times in the first half.
Yeah, it's definitely a slight improvement, but yeah, that Calzada clip has been. If you haven't seen it, just go check Twitter and maybe just search Calzada's name or something. But I think also, I think Jeff Badette might have tweeted at some point about. I think he might have tweeted that clip out. But I
Hmm.
mean, you can find it in just the fact that we have a quarterback saying that. Like Calzada is a very, very experienced guy that's been
Hmm.
at three different schools, learned from numerous OCs,
Yeah.
and uh, and it's just not clicking here. Like I don't know what it is, and now. I mean, a lot of people I saw. I mean, I've seen some crazy takes where like somebody said something about Brock Vandegrift, where if it wasn't for Bush Hamden, he would have been like more beloved than Will Levis here. Like, I saw
Yeah.
something, I was like, oh my goodness, we're just the hindsight now, like 2 games in. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Calzada will be fine. I don't really know what the problem is. I don't know if it's like the like Bush Hamden's taking too long before
Mhm.
the headset cuts off, or if it's just like
Yeah.
just the communication's just not there right now, and
Yeah.
it's terrible because
I
that's the number one thing, OC
yeah.
to QB.
I can't remember if it's the communication stops at the 25-second mark or 15 second.
I think it's
But
15.
yeah, 15. That would probably make more sense. It's probably 25 in the NFL, but 15 on the play clock. So hopefully, that gets better, especially it's week 3 against Eastern Michigan. So it's an easier opponent. So you can do whatever you want, and hopefully we can just like run up the score against them. Uh, Another thing that I noticed, of course, the passing game. They were below 50% completions for the second straight week, and they also, UK hasn't scored more than 2 offensive touchdowns versus a Power 5 school since the 2023 Gator Bowl, which is just insane to think about.
Wait, what was the stat? That's crazy.
That UK hasn't scored more than 2 offensive touchdowns versus a Power 5 school since the 2023 Gator Bowl.
That's that's a ridiculous stat. I hadn't heard that. That's so crazy. That's
Yeah,
so sad.
it is that.
That is so sad. We had to go through a year of that.
A year, yeah.
Yeah, we
Bush
had to go
Hamden's
through a year.
offense.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that's a terrible thing on your track record. And then the stat that was flying around was there was like the three that everybody just kept tweeting where it was like 2-11 in your last 13 SEC home games,
Yeah,
0-8 in the last season opener versus a Power Four team or whatever, or SEC opponent, and then it's 8 straight home losses to SEC teams.
yeah.
Like the
It's all.
stats just continue to pile. Like it's crazy where we've gotten, and I don't know what the case is. I mean, it's just honestly people are very lucky that like Tulane only ended up winning by like two, or Saturday night would have been a riot already.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like if they would have gone and beat South Alabama by a million, people were already so like quick to just get out on Stoops. It feels like, and I
yeah.
mean, I don't know. It's really really bad. It's the offense. I mean, like you said, that stat blows my mind, but it makes sense. It's crazy. Like I said earlier, we kind of have to rely on our defense to maybe end up getting
Yeah,
a touchdown or setting us up for one. I didn't think it was that bad though.
yeah,
That is shocking.
yeah. It is that bad. I mean, like I said, the last time we really had a great offense was against Clemson in that bowl game. Like crazy to think about.
Devin Leary, baby.
Yeah.
That guy, I think with age, people give him more respect. Like in hindsight, I liked him while he was here. I thought he was fine. Like he just
Mhm.
didn't have a great opportunity.
Yeah. I
But
think it was a mixture of both. I think it wasn't just At times he would overthrow the wide receiver or underthrow them, or the other problem was our wide receivers just couldn't catch. Like whenever he actually threw the ball right on the money, like the wide receivers just couldn't catch the ball. So it was definitely a mixture of both, I feel like.
Yeah, that was the year that Dane Key had the bad dropping problems, like that
And
season.
Barry Brown and
Yeah,
every
Barryon was struggling. Yeah,
the
that was
sophomore
not
slump.
good. Yeah, big time. They definitely they the reality hit with them, but
Yeah,
that is crazy though. I mean that team like that man, I don't understand. I don't know how long they give Bush Hamden this leash, or I don't know if it's more of like a Stoops holding him back. I don't know what it is, but we've seen good offensive coordinators come and go,
yeah,
and we're at this point now, and it's just kind of
yeah.
the offense is just terrible.
Well, Mark Stoops said in his press conference after the game that he doesn't do anything on the offense because he doesn't want to hold them back at all. So basically, it's just up to Bush Hamden to call the plays to figure out what's best and, try to get our wide receivers open as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of coach talk because
Yeah.
it does feel like I mean it feels like everybody it feels like the things kind of transitioned through. We've had the same vibe a little bit
Mhm.
through all of these years where it does feel like Stoops probably has a little bit of control on how the offense is going. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the OCs. We've now seen Liam Cohen, who what do we go his second tenure here? We're like 7-6 that year.
7-6 counting the bowl game.
Yeah, now he's an undefeated NFL head coach. Obviously, he's one and
Undefeated.
zero, but
Only
like
undefeated. It's only one
yeah,
game though.
just an undefeated coach. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, obviously the Rich thing that one was very obvious that he
Yeah.
just wasn't going to cut it. Bush Hamden now, I'm kind of starting to. Last year, I gave him some slack because of a lot of unfortunate errors, but um, it was just this
Yeah.
year is just
Yeah.
bad. It's just very
I
bad.
want I wanted him gone last year, but I understood why Mark Stoops kept him because, you didn't want to get your fifth or sixth OC in like 5 years, like it's crazy how many OCs we've gone through since Eddie Gran got fired, or I should say relieved of his duty because he's still at UK, and then of course we went to Liam Cohen. He left after 1 year. And then we had Rich, he got fired. Liam Cohen came back, he left, and then we've had Bush Hamden for 2 years now. So yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of shocked that they gave Bush another year just because it's such a quick business too. Like
Yeah.
the world of college football, they don't
Mhm.
there's not huge leashes really. But
Yeah.
yeah, with this one I did think that he'd
Mhm.
probably be gone, but like I said, I gave him a little bit of a
Yeah.
leash last year because of injuries, all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, this year it's been very, very bad so far. But hopefully, like
Mhm.
we've talked about, and we'll talk about it later on in the next episode, Eastern
Mhm.
Michigan,
Yeah.
maybe it's a vibes right game and
Mhm.
we go out there and ball out.
Yeah, and then one last thing I want to talk about for this Ole Miss game, and then we'll wrap up this podcast. But Mark Stoops said after the game as well that UK practiced that exact 4th and 1 play that Ole Miss ran, and of course, UK got burnt. I'm thinking to myself, if y'all practiced it, why didn't you all do that during the game? Like, be able to stop that. But that also really frustrated me whenever he said that comment.
Yeah, that is very frustrating. Like saying that basically we knew what they were going to do and
Hmm.
didn't stop it. So yeah, that is frustrating. I didn't even hear him make that comment. I listened to some of his stuff, but I didn't even hear him say that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a frustrating thing. Like I do know, obviously Stoops has a little bit of Lane Kiffin's number. Obviously he hasn't beat him a ton, but like
Hmm.
we're right there in
We're
all
right
these
there every game.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think I do believe him when he says that because
Mhm.
it's proven over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we wish we could stop that one because that
Yeah.
literally, like you said, the Missouri fake punt,
Mhm.
that play, that 4th and 1, those are
Yeah.
game changing. And the Missouri one ended up being like a season changing
Yeah, it's season
play.
changing because easily they could have gone 8-4, 9-3 that year if that play doesn't happen against Missouri.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But to wrap up this podcast, the big picture, I mean, UK showed fight and resilience, didn't fold while they were trailing. Basically, they kept the game close. I know Lane Kiffin was probably just sweating a little bit on the sidelines, but I mean, overall, UK fought, and if they can continue to do that, get a little bit better of an offense, then I believe UK can, get to bowling, hopefully get to 6 wins. I know 1-1, all they need to do is get 5 more wins. They have a tough schedule, but I believe they can do it if they can get their offense figured out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to offense big time.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big
Mhm.
thing because we're going to be in a lot of games for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like a lot of the country, for me, I'm a massive college football fan in general,
Mhm.
even outside of Kentucky. And outside of Kentucky, most of the country thought Ole Miss was going to come and just blow us out
Yeah.
because of what Lane Kiffin's like thoughts were, and they
Mhm.
thought there's no world Kentucky keeps this close.
Yeah.
And I mean Lane Kiffin said that we that he's never been more prepared for a game than he was this Kentucky one because of how we ruined their season last year, and we were right there within 7 points. So like there are like if you look at it from that perspective, you can get some positive and optimism
Mhm.
just out of that. But
Yeah.
like you said, the offense is gonna have to step it up big time. They're gonna
Yeah.
some things are gonna have to change.
Yeah, and I did love the blue-white chant. Basically, the fans were rowdy the whole game. You could hear it from the television, so I was happy about that. I think the one bright spot that we have to look at is though the UK run game. It was great again. Dante Dow, Seth McGowan. They're just two beasts of monsters, and they're going to continue to do great. Hopefully, UK's passing game can change, but at least we have a run game this year, and I believe UK can be great if they can figure out this passing though.
Yeah, the run game I saw today, Kentucky has two top 10 running backs in the SEC, like
Yeah.
rushing yards wise, and that's a conference with a lot of good running quarterbacks and some really
Mhm.
good backs. So
Yeah.
having two of them is crazy. But like you said, they've both been very, very good. And Seth McGowan in this game really thrived. He was kind of
Yeah.
the big takeaway of like, man, we're blessed to have him. Like he's been incredible so far.
Yeah.
And then Dowdell, he's had some bursts and bright
Mhm.
spots too. And obviously he had the big one in the Toledo game. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big bright spot. The O line's been really good so
Yeah.
far. So if we can just figure some things out in the
Mhm.
passing game, we'll be okay in the long run. But starts this week.
Yeah, it starts this week. Well, we'll wrap up this podcast. One last thing I want to say though, today is Monday, September 8th, and what happened 7 years ago was UK finally was able to defeat Florida in Gainesville and was able to end the 31-year-long losing streak. So happy about that to end the
Oh
podcast.
yeah. Yeah, I that literally just popped up. I looked at it right before I hopped on the call. That it was like a Snapchat memory. I was over at my mama's house and it had finally happened. The streak was broken.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was watching that good old good not good with double dogs and Bowling Green. So great memories for sure, and definitely enjoyed it
Oh yeah, yeah. No, the streak being that was like the biggest weight lifted off our shoulders as fans.
for sure. Yeah, but we'll wrap up the podcast. We might have a little longer podcast in the next couple of days, but of course, thank you all for watching and listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But hopefully, UK can get the win against Eastern Michigan though this upcoming Saturday.
Oh yeah, need it, need it. Yeah, we'll be excited to talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, everybody. This is Chris Beesmore and
And Cameron Waddle,
signing out. Woo! Have a great day and week, everybody.
see y'all.